Okay, I think we've got enough folks in. Welcome everyone tonight. I would like to start off just by introducing our host, which is the Napa County Library. And I know we have a Napa County representative here, so go ahead, Stephanie.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. With our concerns about water issues, many of us are heading to the library to find out what our gardening options can be. I have a book here. It's called Life After Lawns. It's 8 steps from grass to a waterized garden by Molly Go and Bill Schnetz. And it provides a step-by-step guide to help you change out your lawn for an attractive water-saving garden. And there are tips on how to select the best plants and trees for your yard and garden after you've eliminated your lawn and prepared your soil. I also have another book called The Water Saving Garden, How to Grow a Gorgeous Garden with a Lot Less Water, and it's by Pam Pennick. It's also a good resource, and included is information on native and drought-tolerant plants, rainwater harvesting, gray water systems, and a lot more. And both books, they have beautiful photographs, and they provide you visuals to help you develop your attractive water-saving garden. So I'm really pleased to be working with the Master Gardeners tonight. Go ahead, Yvonne.
Thanks, Stephanie. Thank you for welcoming us. And we are pleased to be partners with the Napa County Library. I'm going to turn this over now to Jane Lomason, who's going to do the rest of our introduction. So welcome, everyone. And go ahead, Jane.
Thank you, Yvonne, and welcome everyone. Just a few housekeeping things before we get started with our talk tonight by Maureen Jett. I want to remind everybody that many of you may be regulars and tune in the first Thursday of every month. But I want to remind you that part of our mission for the UC Master Gardeners is to extend research-based knowledge and information on home horticulture, pest management, and sustainable landscapes. And you can visit our website as well to get any more information about our mission, our core values, and our strategic initiatives. The second thing I want to bring up is, again, some of you may be regulars, but you will receive a survey from us about 3 to 4 weeks from the event. And the purpose of that survey is to make sure that we're touching on all of the main components of horticulture, home horticulture. And it's also to make sure that we're meeting, giving you a quality of program. So the purpose of the survey is to help us improve our topics and also our program. So I hope you'll take time to respond to the survey. But if you don't want to receive the survey, please put your name in the chat right now, and we will remove your name from the survey, the outreach thing. Okay, and this is a good opportunity for us when we're talking about our mission and so forth to remind you that this is the time of the year that you can meet with us and join us as well. You must attend an informational meeting to receive an application, and then you can register for one of the meetings below. We've been having meetings now since the beginning of August, and these are the last 2 meetings left. One is Thursday, September 8th. It's a Zoom meeting. It's from 10 to 11. And then the next one is Wednesday, September 21st, 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. And you might want to do a quick photo of this information, but if you can't capture it on the screen right now, again, visit our website and you can get information about joining us. And again, this is a great volunteer organization, and the goal is to help educate the community on home horticulture. And one more, and here we turn it over to Maureen Jett. And our topic tonight is lawn alternatives and ground covers.
Thank you, Jane. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, well, greetings everyone, and thank you for spending this next hour with us. And I'm going to be covering lawn alternatives and ground covers. It will be more than that, actually, because the topic is much more complex than just listing the alternatives to replace lawns. My goal is to give you some ideas, a starting point, so to speak. If you can take away one or more ideas for your garden, that would be fabulous. But first of all, let's talk about some history. You know, why do we have big green lawns? Well, in a recent New York Times article, we learned that the concept of large sweeping green lawns was brought to the Northeast US in the late 19th century by the Gilded Age capitalists, making their way across, and then as they made their way across the states, they brought that concept of being successful and having large homes and large green lawns. And as I got to the West Coast, where we don't get as much water here as they do on the East Coast, the watering part, because lawns need to be watered so much, but actually with the advent of the LA aqueduct in 1913, it allowed homeowners to have access to water to keep their lawns beautiful. And the movie industry, using LA homes as a backdrop, kind of convinced people that that was the idea of being successful, was having a home with a big, beautiful lawn. So that's kind of a short history on why you have lawns. So with that, that'll be kind of a jumping off point. So let's talk about why you do keep a lawn. Well, it is restful, it is soothing. It's a place for kids and sports, a place for pets. It does feel good on your bare feet. It's a great place to picnic, and it can act as a fire break. And a lot of times it fits with the style of people's neighborhoods. This photo was taken in Colorado, where when we were just there, they had 4 days of rain. So of course, everything is green. So why do you get rid of your lawn? Well, the biggest concern, of course, is water. And shallow roots of turf grass require lots of water to maintain that green. You also have these horrible gas leaf blowers and mowers. People have to use herbicides and pesticides to maintain that beautiful weed-free lawn. But in reality, lawns really don't provide, they provide very little to improve the health of the soil. So water concerns. Drought, drought, drought. Should we say any more? I mean, we have current water restrictions, and no one likes to see all of that water in the gutter that you see over there. We do live in a Mediterranean climate, which, as you know, we don't get rain between April and November generally, and we hope that we get rain in November this year. And actually, lawns use most of your household water. So, you know, this is about 50% of your water is, with using on your landscape. And overhead spray that waters lawns is very wasteful. You get that urban drool. I would call this more than a drool. I'd call this almost a flood that you see in this picture. Before we get started, I wanted to share with you this, this incredible transformation that I saw in the Washington Post. Actually, I was looking at, from UC Davis, I was looking at the plant sale that they're having there at the Arboretum, and there was reference to this article. And the article featured UC Davis Assistant Professor of Landscape Architecture, A. Havens Kears, and this is her home. And she did an amazing job transforming from this. I mean, actually, it looks pretty green right now. Most of our lawns don't look like that, but this is what her lawn looked like to begin with. And here is the second, which looks pretty amazing, I think. You can tell that she's grouped her plants according to water needs or hydrozones. Also note that she's mulched her entire area to keep to decrease the heat that would be penetrating the soil and possibly negatively affecting the tender roots and the plants. Now, let's just look to see what it's going to look like when it's finished. You're not going to believe this. This is truly amazing. It's unbelievable. She has color, texture, and visual interest while reducing water consumption. This landscape is not only drought tolerant, but pollinator friendly. She has incredible plants, poppies, and it's like she has euphorbias and aloes and all kinds of things. So let's move on to the reasons why you want to lose your lawn. Besides water concerns. Well, the bane of my existence in my neighborhood is hearing 4 gas leaf blowers going off at the same time. Most lawn services use them, as I'm sure you've all heard. The noise factor in itself is enough to chase me inside, but also the gas from those 2-cycle engines is just really horrible. There's a lot when they're using the blowers, they're blowing soil, not only soil, but mulch and whatever else is nearby. I mean, I don't have that many leaves in my neighborhood, but it does blow everything around and usually into my yard. But they are also a health hazard. I'm sorry, I didn't advance these. So they are a health hazard because a lot of the people who are doing these things are not wearing masks. Some are not wearing ear protection, although I do see one guy who has ear protection. And also if your kids are outside, they're blowing around dust and pollens and all of those kinds of things. And what is your alternative? Well, you can try electric models, which are not as forceful, but there are also, I don't know if anybody's ever used one, but we have rakes and brooms. So that does work too. So what about herbicides and pesticides? Well, they not only kill weeds and bad pests, but also kill beneficial insects, including the ground nesting bees. As you're walking down the aisles of these big box stores, you see all kinds of products that are tempting to use because you want to get rid of something. But you need to be aware of the chemicals that they will create a vicious cycle of continued use. Once you start using them, it seems like you always have to continue using them in order to maintain that type of yard, that optimal yard and garden that you think you need, or people have told you that you need. But when you do have problems, you see the website UCIPM. If you've never gone there, it is an excellent resource. It's University of California Integrated Pest Management. And you can find out all the information about the pests that you have or the diseases that you have. And sometimes they'll say, don't worry about it, it'll go away the next time. But remember, these herbicides and pesticides can also be a potential health hazard to humans and pets. So be really careful when using them. They do have their place, but if you check the UCIPM website, you'll find out the safest and most effective way to do this. So I'd be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit as a master gardener about soil health. Soil health, as you read at the top, is defined as the continued capacity of soils to function as a vital living ecosystem that sustains plants, animals, and humans. Then the graphic you see below, the soil food web, is a bug's eye view of life below the ground. In just 1 teaspoon of healthy soil, there are billions of living organisms, none quite as big as the mole or the bird or even the worms, but they're all dependent on that root system into the soil, creating sugars that they can transform and capturing carbon. Life goes on under the soil, but only if we take care. Turf grass, having very shallow roots, does not sequester carbon like plants, which have significant roots that store carbon. So with that, we'll continue on. But there are 8 ways, and you may have already seen this if you've attended any of the soil and climate change presentations. These are the 8 ways that you can do this. And if you are interested in finding out more about it, you can go to the 2022 Las Flores Learning Garden Workshop on July 30th. You can find that on our website. and it will give you all kinds of information about soil and what you can do in your own garden to take care of this. As well, there is a YouTube presentation on soil is the solution. It's well worth your time if you can do that. So I'm sure everyone has heard all about artificial turf. Well, do you think it's a good option? I think actually not. Why? Because they do contain petrochemicals. Even the ones touting a soy and sugarcane makeup, they're still mostly more than 50–60% petrochemical based, and they're plastics. They do kill the soil biome because there's nothing growing underneath of it. Nothing is getting to it. Some of them say that they're permeable, and that means the water goes through, but what's going to grow underneath that? And I just read about a study, actually came from Norway. They were studying the microplastics found in soil and waterways near athletic fields. They were using them for soccer fields there. And it is quite revealing. And what about disposal? They don't last forever. They're expensive, and the typical lifespan is 10 years. They do break down, and they get ugly, and they get dirty. They're hot, and they have to be watered to cool off. So children and pets and barefoot adults can't walk on them when they're hot. So there are new products becoming available, but at this point in time, it's not your best alternative. Nature is much better. So what about rocks, gravel, and stone? They have their place, but large areas, entire lawns made up of rocks and gravels may contribute to the heat island effect, which you can hear more about anywhere, actually within some of our presentations. They really retain the heat, and then they let it into the atmosphere in the evening. So they do contribute to a lot of heat loss into the atmosphere. But used judiciously, as in a rain swale, as you see here in this photo, or with cactus and succulents is okay, and pathways, but just not entire lawns. Large rocks and boulders, however, do absorb heat longer and don't radiate as severely as small stones. So really think twice about your use of, or completely changing out your lawn for rocks or stones or gravel. So what are your alternatives when you're thinking about getting rid of your lawn? Well, you can make your lawn smaller if you really need to have one. You can replace it with low water turf alternatives, which we'll talk about. You can replace it with water-wise native and ornamental grasses, which we'll also cover, as well as ornamental water-wise plants, including native and pollinator. You can also expand the hardscape. But if you're thinking about cash for grass, no more than 50% of the area that you want to change out can be used in hardscape, and they must be in a permeable surface. So how do you make your lawn smaller? Well, you can have it, when you want to decide about a size, make it fit the function. If you only need it for your pets to run around, or if you have small children, or you need a football field or whatever, you make that decision. Or if you have to satisfy HOA or neighborhood requirements. Now, that's one thing that you need to check about, because in this situation where we have emergency drought restrictions, you may not have to satisfy some of those limitations. So it'd be worth checking out about that. But also look outside the box, square or rectangular, when you're planning your green area. That's kind of a rudimentary, crude little, looks like a bean or something that I've drawn in there. But be creative. Think about placing that green space between plantings. So you might want to think about using a low water turf alternative. They provide the green space. They can use 50 to 75% less water than turf grass. They need less maintenance, and some of them can handle foot traffic, varying depending on what type it is. We'll be talking about UC Verde buffalo grass, Carapia, and Mow-free native mix. So let's start out with UC Verde buffalo grass. It's the only buffalo grass that was bred in California for California unique climate, making it an ideal and sustainable lawn substitute. It's extremely hot, heat-loving. This warm season grass will use 75% less water than tall fescue grass, which currently makes up the majority of residential lawns in California. So you see that it has low water needs, reduce mowing. You don't have to mow it as often, and it depends on what kind of look you like. It's extremely durable, low pollen, which I like, so allergy-friendly lawn. It doesn't require chemicals because there are no known diseases or pests that like this buffalo grass. But one thing to know is that it can go dormant in winter with frost. Let's look at an example. This is a building at UC Davis campus. It looks like the Graduate School of Management that they seeded or actually planted. You can kind of see the plugs right in here. They planted it in September, which they say is the wrong time. I'm not exactly sure. I guess it depends on where it is that you're planting, but it recovered anyway, and you have this nice, pretty green area here. And so that was September of 2009. This is June of 2010. But as you see in February 2011, it did turn brown because they must have had a frost. But with the warmer temperatures, that grass will again turn green. And Carapia. I don't know if any of you have seen Carapia, but it's kind of a utility ground cover. It can be installed as plants or in rolls as sod. Someone in my neighborhood just put it in, and he said the sod was significantly more expensive. I don't know any details, but he bought flats of plants. And it's green year round in most locations. And once established, the watering is minimal. It has many uses that you can read here, but one of the things to know is that it's not recommended for heavy traffic areas like playgrounds or sports fields. So if you leave it unmowed and allowed to flower, it will attract natural pollinators. So if you have a space where you would love to attract bees, you can just let it go to flowers. It doesn't grow high or whatever. So, but this is remedied if you mow it. So you can mow, and I'll show you some pictures here. So the picture on the left that you see is my neighbor's yard, and he put this in a couple of months ago with plants, with the little plants, and it has spread quite nicely. The picture on the right is an established Carapia lawn that's in front of some grapevines. And in the center photo, you'll see the flowers that you'll get, the little white flowers that you'll get if you leave it alone. Someone told me that if you mow it every 2 weeks, that you'll reduce significantly the number of flowers that will come out. So if you like this idea and you don't want a lot of bees, you can do the mowing. So the mow-free native mix is a trademark mix from Delta Bluegrass, and this is their photo on the right. Is a combo of 2 native fescues and 1 hybrid that you can see, the Idaho fescue, the Molate fescue, and the Western Macalumne fescue. You can mow it a couple of times a year or more or never. So it depends on the look you want. So when you're replacing your lawn, you kind of have to know what do you feel comfortable having as a look in your lawn if you feel like you really have to have that green space. So it is good shade and cold tolerant. So the other thing you can do is use native and ornamental grasses and sedges, etc. There's a wide variety of those. California has so many water-wise grasses, a lot of native grasses. And some are sun or shade, and they grow anywhere from 6 inches to 3 or 4 feet. They're mostly clumpers. The one you see here on the right is the mondo grass. And then over here is a native West Coast bent grass, which we'll cover first. I'll cover a few here. I can't possibly cover the hundreds that are actually available. I will talk about the website that would be a good source for you. West Coast native bentgrass, Agrostis pallens, also known as seashore bentgrass or thin grass. It can be mowed or it can be left to flop, creating a look of natural and formal meadow. if you leave it alone, it requires half the water of customary turf and half the mowing and maintenance. It thrives in full sun or partial shade and will tolerate low impact foot traffic. So these, the native grasses provide a better root system than you're going to get with turf grass for sure. One of the grasses that has become very popular to mix with native plants is the blue grama, Butalua gracilis. It was native to Western Great Plains. It's a bunching perennial grass. It grows 1 to 2 feet tall. The stems carry flowers on one side only. You give it full sun or part shade with little water. And the beauty of it is when you see it, these little banners kind of blow in the wind, and it's really quite lovely. So California meadow sedge, Carex panza. It's green with, you can see these little tan flowers. It tolerates foot traffic and it can be mowed. So a lot of these things that look long and maybe a little more natural or wild can be mowed. So that's the thing when you're looking up some of these grasses that you're considering, or you check with your the nursery that you're buying these from, you can find out what the recommendations are, what you can do with it. Foothill sedge, Carex tumulicola, is dense and spreading clumps. It's tough. It's evergreen. It grows 12 to 18 inches, sun or shade, wet or dry, and they suggest that it's great for dry rain beds, and it looks like it would be. It looks like it's mixed here with some other grasses, quite lovely, and maybe some poppies behind. So that's really quite nice. California fescue. This is a local yard with someone who has California fescue. This is in the summer, so some of it has turned brown, but it's clumping, it's evergreen. It grows 2.5 to 3 feet, needs good drainage, tolerates both sun and shade. It's good under oaks, and they say it's good for revegetating large areas where you want some green, you want some stable soil, you want to help with your soil. This is a good one to go with. CalState, this screenshot is from calscape.org, which is a database of California native plants. It's from the California Native Plant Society, and it helps you find plants that do well in your specific area of California. I encourage you to peruse this website. A lot of the websites most of the websites that I will mention, you can find in the reference section, which we'll look at the end. So this screenshot, you can notice there are tons of really, really nice ornamental grasses that would be a good choice for your yard. So why not mix some of the aforementioned grasses with beautiful water-wise plants, including California native and pollinators? You'll be happy, and so will the pollinators. So you have some Gaillardia epilobium, which is the California fuchsia, Achillea. I love this color. And there are just so many beautiful colors. I've listed a lot of the resources at the end of the presentation. In the following slides, you'll see some beautiful examples of plants available. Perhaps you have a color palette in mind. Perhaps you have a pollinator you'd like to focus on. Butterflies, hummingbirds. Let's look at some of the examples. If I can get my cursor back here. So you have asters and salvias and heather and lavender and poppies and daisies. The colors are magnificent and your options are incredible. There's so many different websites that can help you figure out which flowers would do best in your area, your situation, whether you get sun or shade or well-drained or bad soil or whatever. So you have Agastache, Echinacea, milkweed. And then this photo is of the UC Davis Haagen-Dazs bee garden, honeybee garden, honeycomb hideout. You'll see a nice pathway. I have yet to visit this. It's on my list, my bucket list. So I definitely want to do this. And you'll find information on their website too about planting guides for our bees. So if you like the color orange, you have the Nymphofia, the poker, the echinacea, you've got roses and daisies and about everything you can think of in this garden. I think this is a lovely photo. You know, at the Hatte building in Napa, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, the Hat building, there are lots of low water plantings that you can take a look at too. So just so many options. You're not limited by options, that's for sure. There's so much available. But what if you have a little shade? What if you need some shade? There are plants available too, like Jarrah and Astilbe and many others. You can find a lot of textures, you can find a lot of colors, but the real goal is to find the right plant for the right place. It's always important. And the databases that you can access will always give you that information. So this house is a fairly recent lawn removal and plants. It's got Nepeta, roses, lilies, heathers, and this is a transformation of one of our master gardeners. And it only will get fuller and more inviting as the years go by. And this is, I had to put this photo in again because I've got to have this Achillea. I don't have this color, but it's on my list. I need to find it. It's called Achillea paprika. So UC Davis has a website dedicated to their arboretum. If you haven't been on it, it is well worth your time. This plan that you see here is using plants in their all-star plants. As you can see on the bottom here, all-stars, they are tried and true plants. They give you so much information about each one of those plants. So check out the website at the end of this presentation. I'll show you a few more planting guides that they have. This one is a native plant guide, also using their all-stars. And as you can see, they give you the names of the plants, where they planted them. If this is something that would help you out, this is great. So the other one is a low maintenance plan. These plans are great, and they also give you the size. I don't think the size is on here about how big this area is where they've planted. The thing that you have to remember is when you're planting is that when you put things in, it looks like it's not going to fill in. It couldn't possibly fill in. But as you saw in that first transformation, how amazing it looked after a while. I'm not sure of the time lapse, but it was quite significant. Now this one is a wildlife attracting plan. So take a look at the UC Davis Arboretum site. The website is listed at the in the references. So maybe you're thinking about cactus or succulents because maybe you don't want to water very much at all. And this is a yard that I recently saw in Napa. This was taken at San Juan Capistrano Mission, where they have a nice walkway through. They've got lots of pollinator plants and aloes and agaves. And then this one was done with, it's almost like an alpine garden, but you can make it any way you want. I just thought the attractiveness of the stones with the plants inside was really quite lovely. So you can also expand your hardscape. So when you do that, you can increase it. It doesn't need any water. It does add to your outdoor living space, reduces runoff if everything is permeable. And like I mentioned at the beginning, if you're doing the Cash for Grass program, 50% can be hardscape, but it has to be permeable. And Napa does not allow artificial turf. I just read that the state of Nevada is allowing artificial turf as one of their replacements. So that's kind of disappointing, but it's not Napa. So you can be aware that they will not allow artificial turf. The costs vary, whether you're changing patios, walkways, or adding a rain swale. Let's take a look at patios. Patios do increase living area. They do add visual interest. This was one that I saw on a garden tour, and this one was from one of our master gardeners who's a landscape designer and provided this photo for me. The opportunity to use permeable surfaces with gravel or DG, the stones with no mortar. So as you can see, there's mulch here, there's mulch here, there's some stones here, and there's no mortar in there. The DG is over to the side. And then you have walkways. As you can see here, this is DG. This is the one, the San Juan Capistrano mission, where they had DG. And you can find permeable options, if not mortared. You can find flagstone, gravel, decomposed granite, clay, permeable pavers. DG can get hot, although it absorbs the rain, water, and irrigation. You don't get the runoff that you would get with a hard surface. So this looks like a little bit of a gravel. This is a driveway. So lots of mulch, lots of water absorption, not a lot of runoff except for the driveway, of course, but a lot of us can't do anything about that. So rain gardens and swales. So this is one way to use stone in a reasonable manner. They're attractive. You can see all of the plants that are not only bordering this, they're absorbing the rain that will come hopefully this winter. The water will percolate into the soil instead of running off into the street or the gutter and down into the storm drains. So if you have a low-lying area already, this might be a good option, or you can create one. I love the plants around these, they're just beautiful. But what if you need or want low-profile plants because you have a sidewalk or a driveway or a parking or hell strip, as this area is, in between hard surfaces such as pavers and flagstones? What are you going to use? Well, you're going to use ground covers and low profile shrubs. So you can do ground covers in a dense mat like this with sedum and diamondia, and the lower petalum in the background gives a really beautiful visual effect, I think. So with these plants, you're gonna, it's gonna keep the ground cool because the ground is totally covered. It's gonna sequester carbon. It's going to attract pollinators and also gives you visual pleasure. So let's take a look at a few options of ground covers. Oops, went too far. So you can have a sedum like this one, manzanita, emerald carpet, which is a really hardy, woody ground cover that will spread and doesn't need to be watered. And Scaevola sardiva, which I think is quite pretty. You can get other colors with that particular plant. And of course, hundreds and hundreds of sedums. So your options there are, you find some that you can walk on, you can find some that grow higher, or it's pretty amazing. Just even do a search on sedum and you'll be so surprised. Or the sheep spur. This is a New Zealand plant. These pictures are from the Mendocino Botanic Gardens near Fort Bragg, and they had some beautiful, beautiful plants. So this is a heather dark star. Or lantana, you can always find that. That's actually one of the approved plants to use in a parking strip in my neighborhood. The poppy, of course, is always beautiful. Who doesn't love that color? The diamondia has a beautiful flower and a really interesting color leaf. And here we have some sedums. The sedum options are just, I actually think they're one of the best for ground covers, mainly because you get some textural differences. So if you have one of a parking strip, or as I like to call it, a hell strip, then you might want to think about sedums. So I'm going to show you a little bit. I have one that I did myself. What I did was I have this trusty hori-hori, this little knife, and I just cut the grass off, basically, as I like to say, to the nubs. And then I created an angled area along the sidewalk so that the mulch would stay in place better. I did cover everything. I don't have pictures of that with a sheet mulch. I did sheet mulch. And the process for that is available. If you haven't taken a class or a presentation on that, there's information at the end. Reference a sheet mulching video, PDF, and also you can check out, there was a library talk in October of, I think it was 21, on sheet mulching. So you can go to our website and look for the slideshow on that from the library talk. So then I put the cardboard down, watered it, put the soil and compost and mulch on top. And this is after I finished it and put a few plants in. Actually, this is after they've grown, but these two plants are not the same. They didn't make it, or I don't know what I did. So I ended up changing them. This is actually the Ceanothus, this one, and it did survive and it's doing beautifully. Muhlenbeckia is here, and then sedum. So they've been doing quite well. So I've actually been trying, I have probably 8 different ground covers just because I'm trying them for myself to see what I like, what grows there. So trial and error is always a good thing. And as you see, there's no overhead irrigation here. These are so established now that I'm only watering them when it's really, really dry or really, really hot, like it's going to be this weekend. So there are other areas that you want to have low site shrubs, say that 3 times fast, and then ground covers. So this was a photo that I got from someone. It's got poppies and flax. I think this flax will probably get pretty big, and some annual marigolds. And I'm not sure if this is a heather back here. There's some pollinator plants. So, you know, your options are pretty amazing. You may be restricted by by the height. In my neighborhood, you can't have high parking strip plants because people are backing out of their driveways constantly. So that's one thing you might have to think about, is what height you want for your parking strip, and check with your neighbors if there's any problem with that. Mostly you need to have a plan, but remember, you don't have to change, you don't have to replace everything at once. Actually, it may be advantageous to be a little more patient so you can see what works. It's really important to know exactly what you want. So I would suggest taking a photo of the place where you want to replace your lawn. You want to take measurements. You want to mark where your existing trees and shrubs are. And of course, you can always seek the help of a professional landscaper. If you haven't visited Las Flores Learning Garden, we're in the process of installing gardens there. This is a plan for a low water, low maintenance garden. You can find this plan as well as the other ones for the different gardens. The next one that's going in, we have low water, low maintenance. We have California native, and we have a pollinator garden in place. The next one will be a succulent garden. So if you haven't been out there, take a look. And more ideas to help you is you keep a binder or a folder of pictures you've seen in magazines, mark the pages of the books you've looked at, like the ones that we were shown at the beginning, take photos of lawns that you love or parts of it you love, visit Master Gardeners, Las Flores Learning Garden. You can go to local nurseries. Botanical gardens is my favorite place to see about plants because most of them are so mature, you can see what they're going to look like eventually. You can peruse the amazing websites that are listed at the end of this presentation. Now, how about, how best to get rid of your grass? Well, keep in mind, sheet mulching is probably the best. If you haven't ever done it or you don't know, you can check out instructions. Actually, I do have that list. It is October 2021 library talk on cash for grass and sheet mulching. So go to our website and check that out. You can also take a screenshot of the references as we get closer. And these are basically the steps that you need to follow in order to do the sheet mulching. It's not particularly pretty, but it really works. Now, the Cash for Grass program, most of you, if you're from Napa, have heard about it. It's been a very successful program. There are requirements. These are a list of things you need to do first. There is a pre-inspection, there's a post-inspection, there's a list of terms and conditions. There's a PDF link at the end of this presentation, but you can also find all of this information on their website. All you have to do is do a search for Cash for Grass Napa, and you'll find all the information you need. And also, they have a fairly new program called Flip Your Strip. As you can see here, this strip has been flipped. It doesn't have the 50% plant covering requirements, mainly because you probably have to leave some places for people to walk across your parking strip. So it's well worth checking out too, and it's on their website. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some resources that I find fabulous. One is napawatersavingplants.com, which is water-wise gardening in Napa Valley. They have amazing resources within this, just this one. You can go on site and look at garden galleries where you have lots of photos, and actually within the photos, they'll talk about plants that are in these photos. So there's front yards and backyards and hillsides and parking strips, shrub borders, walkways, etc. So well worth taking a look at that. And then another one is about plant lists that you can find to cover certain topics like the one we're talking about today, the lawn substitutes, or you can find ornamental grasses, some that attract birds, butterflies, screens and hedges. And then I'll show you one of the first of 3 pages of lawn substitute plants. So this is the first page, and you'll notice when you go there that there are these little yellow poppies on some of these photos. Well, that means those are California natives. So, and then when you click on any of these, it will give you specific information about where these plants grow the best. So this website is fabulous. There's also a website called Wilcole's Database, Water Use Classification of Landscape Species. I have that website in the reference section. You can find it. You can find it for specific areas. So it says find your city on the map. You can look up a specific plant. You can look up by what water use you want. Hopefully it'll be in this section, the very low, low, and moderate. And then a plant type. So you'll see all of these different plant types that you can look up. It's a wonderful. So they have them for grasses too, and for lawn and turf grass. So these are the reference. First of all, I wanted to thank you for joining me tonight, but I would really encourage you to check out the references on this slide if you want to take a screenshot. But of course, this presentation will be available in a week or even less on our website. But I've listed them as lawn-related websites, plant-related websites, and then on the next page, I will have PDFs. So this is the one about the Cash for Grass terms and conditions. This one is the UC Davis plan that you saw earlier. This is pollinator.org, which has tons of information. We are considered the California Coastal Chaparral, and so it talks about the plants. This particular one will talk about the plants that are available. There's great information about all the plants. And then this is the one about sheet mulching, and this is about the bee garden. So these are some books, and I think, I don't know if that was one, but the Drought Defying California Garden, Lawn Gone, the New Sunset Western Garden book, which is always a great resource, Reimagining the California Lawn, and Hell Strip Gardening. This one was very helpful for me. So with that, you can find, like I said, you can find those resources and this slideshow on our website, napamg.ucanr.edu. And please go there if you've never been before. And if you want to look for specific presentations, it's kind of buried on the second page. So this is the first page, and you'll see at the top in this bar, events, find us, and you'll click on that. And then at the top of the page, you'll see references and slides, workshops and events listed by year. So please, please, please take a look at that. You're going to find tons of stuff. If you really want to check more about soil, if you really want to check about sheet mulching, if everything is there. So please, please take a look. And questions?
Maureen, it's Lonnie. We did have some questions in chat.
Okay.
The first was somebody just saying, what about using baking soda and vinegar for weed control? And I did give them the UC page on,
Okay, awesome.
on that. The next had to do with Carapia.
Mhm.
And the question was, will Carapia diminish invasive plants like Gazania? Or will Gazania always win?
Since I've never planted Carapia, I mean, that would be a question maybe to send to, I don't know if that question can be sent to the Master Gardeners. I don't know that particular answer. We do have people who have the one photo that I had is someone who's has an established Carapia. So I really can't answer that question. I don't know if there's anybody on our Master Gardener list there who can answer that question, but that would be one to answer, but I don't have that answer. I'm sorry.
Okay. The last question was, what about using clover as a lawn alternative?
Well, some people do. I mean, that old adage that a weed is only what you don't want in your yard. So I have heard people using clover. So it's green, it has little flowers. So why not?
Okay, I think that takes care of the chat question.
There was actually a question that came in really early on, and he said that it was for a question at the end. What do you do to prep? I think you've covered some of this, but we might want to just kind of circle back. He said,
okay.
I'm sorry, this person said, it's Rosanna. Sorry, Rosanna. How do you prep the area? Just rip out water heavy plants and shrubs and then till the soil to leave a blank slate? What do you recommend as a next step, and what to plant? Areas next to a driveway and along a path to the front door. So
okay, well,
I think
I've got that.
those,
I've got
maybe.
that situation myself. There are different ways to get rid of your lawn. I've done it two different ways. I've pulled the grass out and left the soil as much intact as I can, because it doesn't have a huge root system. That's not difficult unless your soil is really horrible. There's really no reason to till the soil. Once you, if you're going to use the sheet mulch method, you put that over the top. I have dug it up a little bit and also just cut it back to either way works really quite well. And my soil isn't that bad, but when you use good compost and soil and mulch, and you put in plants, your soil is going to benefit. So unless you have really, really hard clay soil that you need to amend, kind of go with it. Try a small area and find out how it works or you can get a recommendation have somebody test your soil. You can take your soil to be tested in different laboratories too. So lots of options.
Somebody in the chat had commented that they had tried Carapia last October and that it had not filled in and seemed to need a lot of water and did not spread well. I know that one of our Master Gardeners has it planted, and I know she was struggling with it, but I think hers was pretty successful.
Yeah, I think I did talk with her too, and at the beginning. So it could be it could be the soil, it could be the watering, it could be that particular time of the year. I think that it really get the recommendations from the company that carries them. I know that there are a few companies that do carry them. So I think I would not give up if you really like that, it's worth trying again.
I know some people have used Dimondia, and that one I've seen effective as a ground cover, except in areas that are too large. I think it works better in smaller areas.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because I've seen it kind of die out in the center. So you
Yeah,
do have to be careful with these plants that are drought tolerant to cut back the water once they're established, and you do it slowly. And I think that's part of the challenge with some of these replacements.
Yeah, I think so too, because the water, like you say, the watering requirements are totally different than when you're used to watering your lawn. And I mean, with the watering restrictions, you know, you don't have that many options for watering, and I think it's only going to get worse as far as water restrictions. So it's a trial and error. I mean, I don't think I've ever talked with a master gardener who got it perfect the first time. So we do a lot of trial and error. I do a lot of changing out of my plants. So it's what's going to work, but it's actually kind of fun, but that's from a gardener standpoint. So I wish everybody a lot of luck with those kinds of things, but there are options. And using these websites gives you so much information to help you in those choices. And also your garden centers can give you some information too. So any other questions?
Yeah, somebody wanted to know what they could plant right now in September and October, or should they wait?
Well, you know, it's a big decision to change. Are we talking about taking out your lawn? I mean, if you're just taking it out and not doing the Cash for Grass program, I would personally not take out a huge area. And of course, you know, it depends on what you choose for planting. You know, you have to remember that whatever you choose is going to have to be watered. Hand watering, you know, is allowed under the restrictions. So I personally like to start out small and just try a few things, take out a small area of grass if that's what you're thinking about doing, and just seeing what works. I mean, we are in unusual times with water restrictions. So I would just talk with some people, come, you know, chat with the garden centers and see whether planting something now is not worth it. It really depends on the plant. How much sun it needs. Right now, I wouldn't plant anything this weekend since it's going to be 105 on Monday, but besides not wanting to be out there, but you do have to water. So it really depends on what you choose, where you're putting it, and what kind of watering that you're able to do.
There's a comment from Marcy, who's one of our master gardeners, and she said now is a great time to sheet mulch. Autumn is a great time to plant, especially planting native plants with the hopes that we will get some rain soon. And that way you hopefully don't have to water through the winter to help the plants establish. So I know our California Native Plant Society often has an October sale. I don't know if they're doing that this year, but late fall is a good time to do some planting.
Yes,
natives,
yeah.
Especially
in anticipation of actual rain.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, let's hope so. But Marcy's right. When you can sheet mulch and put your compost and your soil and your mulch down, you don't actually have to plant anything until later. So the mulch in itself will protect the soil from the heat, and you don't have to water it. So any other questions?
I just, this is Marcy.
Hi, Marcy.
I'm butting in a little bit because I typoed. I'm not the best typist. The beauty of planting right now in the fall, especially for natives, but anything that we plant in our area, as you said, Maureen, in our Mediterranean climate, this is the best time to plant because the soil is still warm. The plants can get their roots established in the warm soil, but they won't be stressed by the hot summer days. They have the winter to get themselves established and get themselves grounded, so to speak, and hopefully with rain to support them. But even if we end up with rain failures, we have the last couple of years, they're still going to be able to get some growing going before things get hot and fierce next summer.
Next
So
summer, yeah.
actually the best time to do it. And if you're looking at that lawn and you're ready to let the lawn go, then have a sheet mulching party, order the pizza, get your friends, gather up all those brown boxes that have accumulated.
Yeah.
And not with a shiny finish, but with a matte finish, and order the compost and get it done. It's just
It's fun. It's actually fun. It's fun to do, and it's very rewarding.
Maureen, somebody was asking if you could put the reference page back up again. I think.
Oh, sure.
Go
Sure,
back to
absolutely.
that for a moment for us.
Yeah. This is the first one.
Yeah, there
And
were
like I
2
said, this
pages,
will be,
right?
yeah, there are 2 pages. So I'll leave this up for a second. And then I'll move to the other one. So these are the websites. The next page are PDFs and books. So can I move it to the next one then, if I can find my cursor?
And as Maureen had said earlier, we will have this posted on our website in about a week or less. It usually takes us just a few days to edit everything and get it up there. So you can find this recording and it'll be in the recording.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the time that you spent today and hope to see you again.
Pamela gave a good hint. Everybody stay cool and stay hydrated. Very
Oh
important.
my gosh. Yes, for sure. Yes.
Maybe don't garden in the heat of the day.
Yeah. Try a movie.
Yeah.
A gardening movie.
Watch our old recordings, right?
Exactly. What better way to spend your time?
Thank you everyone for joining us today. We really appreciate you coming. And we hope you'll come to us next month. We will be talking about, what is it? Danger. What was it again?
Danger and romance in the
garden.
garden.
Danger and romance in the garden. We're going to talk about poisonous plants and literature and where you can find things about poisonous plants in literature. So should be a really fun program. We hope you'll join us again at 7 o'clock and we'll see you next month, if not before. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good night.
Bye. Good night.